This is Tell Me What It's Like, a show about uncommon experiences and the perspectives they shape. I'm Stacy Rain. Several years ago now, our family was getting ready to move to 29 Palms, California. It's a base that most people do not want to go when they get orders there, and I was no exception. So I was talking to my neighbor from another duty station about moving to 29 Palms, and she said to me, well, you need to make sure you know Kandi Hart. Kandi Hart is going to be there too. And so I thought at the time she was telling me this because Kandi was fun, which ended up being absolutely true. But what I also learned is that Kandi was very good at building community. Kandi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stacy. That was so kind. I feel like I should send Jamie flowers for being such a hype person.
I will never forget when we were at that baby shower together and someone said, oh, Kandi's in the kitchen putting such and such together. And I was like, oh, is it Kandi Hart? I'm supposed to know her. I have to go talk to her. And I'm glad I did, because you made that place a lot of fun. And I think it was because you had this ability to bring people together, to build a community in a place like 29 Palms, which is so unique. So let's talk about 29 for a hot second.
Let's talk about it. It's one of my favorite places, which I know is so hard to believe for many people.
Well, the saying is cry
when you arrive and cry when you leave.
Cry when you go. Yep. Which was true for me.
Oh, very much.
Was it true for you?
It was very much true for me too. And I was there for a total of, not consecutively, but for 10 years. The first year we did 6 years, and the second we did 4. And I'll say that each time was different.
I actually think that was one of the first things that we talked about. Is you said, I don't remember what I said about 29, but I remember you looked at me and you're like, well, I asked to come back here. And I said, you did?
Oh, we 100% we asked to come back there. Our kids asked to come back there. Like, I will never forget the conversation after we left the first time and we were headed to Quantico. And my daughter said to Dave, she's like, you've got one job and it's to get us back. I mean, like, how much pressure is that? And
yeah, right.
Then when he did get the orders to come back, because we were in Quantico for 5 years, so there was a 5-year gap. I kept telling her the whole time, because how they go to school out in town, set your expectation management, because those friends you had in elementary school are probably not going to be the same in high school, and they all grew up together. Those that stayed local versus you going off on your merry way for 5 years. And I wish that I would have set that same expectation for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because going back the second time, like I said, it was incredibly different than the first time. And I think it was because I was probably a little more mature, a little wiser. But, building that tribe is not always easy on those first couple of weeks when you're at a new spot.
Yeah. I had somebody once tell me it takes 6 months. I think it was faster in 29.
Oh, I think it's because we're all miserable, right? Like, misery loves company.
Yeah, there's nothing to do, which is helpful. That's one, obviously part of building community is you have to be in the community.
You have to be, and it's hard there in the summer, right? And I used to always say that, you got to get to at least September, because then it's it's bearable to go outside, unless you're hanging out at the pool all day. The first time, the majority of the people I met was at the pool, because that's where everybody wants to be. And so once you get past that phase of that place, then I'm telling you, there's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. And I feel like 29, out of all the places, it really taught me how much having a vibrant community can make a real difference in the way you see a place.
Right.
I mean, you hear about, oh, you're going to the desert and there's nothing there. And I mean, 29 is so much more than I think what people think of it from the outside. It's such a quirky and kind of artsy and fun place.
Right. And there's so much to do. And I think that a lot of people get lost. There's life outside that base. Some of it's a little crazy, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you find the right people to go chase down that crazy, it is something for the memory book.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking there was some crazy art exhibits there, and it just had its quirks. You just never knew what you were going to see on those long desert roads. But I do think the big thing about that place. And what I really took away from it is that a vibrant community can really just change the way you feel about a place.
Oh my gosh,
was
it can change the way,
super
I
evident
mean, it
there.
changes your whole perception of everything, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if you're happy, then your kids are happy. If you, I mean,
Right.
people feed off of that energy. And if I see somebody on my street out having a good time, and if I'm having a bad day, guess what? I'm about to have a good time too. And,
Yeah.
you know, and like, one thing that I've noticed from here in Pendleton, and I say this all the time since that's where we're at now, is there I could send a text message out, and in 10 minutes I could have 10 people on my front porch. Here, because there's so much more to do, it's like you need a 2-week notice to plan it. Like, well,
Yeah.
let me put this on my calendar. It's like 2 weeks from now, guys, I'm going to forget that my menopausal self is going to forget that I even invited you over here. So
Right.
I miss that. I miss the spontaneity of just showing up.
That is what when I was at Pendleton, that is one thing that I think people said is the difference between 29 and Pendleton was that there was just a million things that people could go out and do.
Right.
You know, there was activities for your kids, or there's this or that, and not so much in 29, which made it a special place.
Right.
So I want to talk about community with you, something we had a lot of in 29. And also I want to talk about ideas on how to build more community where you are. But first, let's talk about your early days as a military spouse and what community looked like then for you.
So this is really funny. So I've been married to Dave we've been together for 27 years. And the very first time that I actually because he was an instructor at TBS, and I just, you don't know what you don't know, right? But I'm a big proponent of information, and I think that we should share information so that people know, and I'm all about bringing people together. And if I'm miserable, then I don't want to be miserable anymore. I want to be around fun people. So whenever he was an instructor at IOC, he had a class, and in that class, I think that there were 12 spouses, so they're young lieutenant wives. And what I didn't know at the time was I had information that the lieutenants didn't necessarily have as far as their training goes. So because I was like, oh, well, let's plan any, dinners or whatever around these dates, I sent this information out to those spouses. And I was like, hey guys, here's the training schedule. let's pick some days during this. And so Dave comes back, and Dave's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm planning my life out. Like, what do you mean? What am I doing? And he's like, you can't share this information. He's like, I was giving this so you knew what I was doing. He's like, this is some of these are like surprise things. And I'm like,
no.
And I was like, well, maybe you should have, said that. I was like, because right now I'm like, I've got all of these spouses, and we're lined up on like every other Friday to go out to dinner. So I think even early on, I mean, there were some nuances that I needed to learn and understand. But early on, it was so important to me to bring people together. And I will tell you why, Stacy, because I didn't have that. I didn't have anyone in the beginning like reach out to me and say, hey, welcome. I didn't have that. And that's no fault of anyone's, because, some people have the time to do that. I never know what season of someone they are in their life and what they have going on. So, but I always know how I want to make somebody feel. And I always want to make somebody feel seen and welcomed.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's setting the example. It's when somebody set the example for you, and you understand, oh, I felt, this way when we got together, how many times or whatever, or when I was able to make a friend because this person put together this, gathering. But if you haven't been exposed to that, how do you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And then, I mean, and again, I think a lot of it comes with some maturity too. But I think that, it was those younger years. There's a lot of lessons learned. A lot of lessons learned that I always say one day I'm going to write a book about it, on what not to do as a military spouse. and I have all of my own things that I've done wrong through the years, but something's right, because I've made incredible friendships.
Well, that is the thing. I feel like we make we're lucky in that because we move so often.
Yeah.
We move into places. Here's one thing I've noticed when we've moved outside of bases is when everyone else needs friends too, it's much easier to make them.
Right. It is. It 100% is. And I think that that's what's so, that was what was so great about 29. It was everybody has this thought of what 29 is because you hear all these horror stories. And then,
Right.
and so you're all kind of like a deer in headlight walking into it. And then when you start meeting people and you start finding your commonalities and it just, it's really, unless you've lived it, I mean, it's just magical. There's no other way that I can describe it as.
We're gonna have to break it down here though to figure out how every community can bring some 29 into their lives. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because you don't have the crazy desert to go with it.
Well, I think it all starts with a karaoke machine.
So that is one of our secrets was the karaoke machine, and I would say our rendition of "Shallow" together was probably one of the best.
Stacy, I don't know why someone didn't pick it up for a recording. I mean,
I don't either.
It was.
And the performance
that night, there were some tears.
We did move some people to tears. Right. So karaoke did become one of our things because, again, there's not a whole lot to do in the desert. So it was really a make your own fun thing, which I do feel like it's a good tip, I guess, is sometimes it's not about, going out to a restaurant or doing this. Sometimes it's about just doing something that's fun and silly and whatever in your backyard.
Right. Just spur of the moment, or just like have a Friday night barbecue. Everybody bring your own meat in a side dish and just show. I remember in the first house that we lived in 29, not yours, but on the regiment house, we had that parking lot. Why? Why did we have a parking lot? There was no reason, in my opinion, for us to have a parking lot. But we would tailgate. I remember when I first met the Kaufmans, like we tailgated in that parking lot because we made something fun to do. We were like, this is just a waste of space. Let's just do something in it. And I mean, and that brought the whole community together. And I think another tip for, starting a community too is like, don't go in with a negative attitude. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy this day and age with social media and whatnot to just read all the negativity that a place has to offer instead of finding the good and forming your own opinion there. That's one thing that I've always taught my kids. And I think a lot of it's based on this lifestyle. Say, for instance, that you move into a community and you're like, oh, I don't know about that Kandi Hart. Like she's, she's out there, like, or whatnot. I always tell my kids, like, when somebody says something like that, form your own opinion. Get to know somebody and form your own opinion, because whoever's saying that about me, like, Kandi Hart could have been having the worst day of her life that day, and that was your first impression of her. And as wrong as what that probably could have, that was, form your own opinion of somebody. So if I find out that my neighbor is Kandi Hart, I'm not immediately going to be like, oh my gosh, find me a different house. Like, I'm going to offer some grace, and I'm going to form my own opinion about somebody like that. Because I think that going into a neighborhood with a negative thought is only going to bring negative experiences.
Yeah. That's an excellent point, because a lot of times it is about outlook. Now, I might have gone into 29 with a little bit of a negative attitude, but it turned around quickly.
It
turned around quickly. That is one thing I love about 29. But I think in many cases, military communities can be very strong communities, and a lot of times because they have to be, because we move into places we don't know anybody, we don't know the area. But I feel like you're very good at this. I think it's about making community where you are. And I think that's what happens every time we move. We have to figure out, who are my people? What do we do here? That kind of thing. Now, you've been a military spouse for, almost 30 years. You've moved a lot.
We have. I think I'm on my 19th move.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah. So you've built community 19 times. That's a lot.
It is a lot. It is.
You've
It
learned
is
a trick or
anymore.
two about building
I've
community.
learned it. I have learned a thing there too, and I think that what you got to go in feet first.
Yeah? What do you mean?
And you've got to go. You've got to go in feet first, and you've got to be able to. And it's probably hard. And people have such a hard time believing that whenever I was in kindergarten, this is so crazy. I was almost held back because I had such social anxiety, which is crazy.
Really?
Because yes, like even my mom.
That is
will tell-
shocking.
I know. Even my mom will tell people that I was so shy, and I used to always blame it on being an only child, and that like I was just scared. And now I'm the first person that's gonna walk in a door and grab a microphone. I don't care if I know you or not, and we're gonna do whatever we want to do. And I hope that I know that's hard for a lot of introverts, but my goal in a room is if I see you as a wallflower, you're going to be the first person that I go to. I'm not going to make you get on stage with me, but
I
I'm
was about to
definitely
ask, like, are you going to give them a song or?
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot like that, but I'm definitely going to make you feel seen, and I'm definitely going to I'm going to get to know you a little bit because
Yeah.
deep down, I know what it was like to be that, which is so crazy. Nobody ever believes me when I say that.
I'm curious, do you remember coming out of your shell or what techniques that you used even at that young, or did it just sort of grow with you as you got older?
I remember every day right before I left for school in kindergarten, I cried because I was so scared to go to school. And I was scared because I was just so shy. And I think that I don't even know when I came out of it really. I think probably once I had, established some friendships because I'm from such a small town that I established like my friendships that I probably got better.
So since then, you've moved 19 times. That is a lot.
So we've moved 19 times, but let me clarify that. Like 19 times doesn't mean necessarily 19 different duty stations. 19
No,
times
I get it.
is
Yeah.
like we had that house in Twentynine Palms, then we had to move 4 houses down. So
Right.
I'm counting those into that.
Or
as
you've moved
well.
like off base to on base, which we've
Yeah.
done before. Yeah.
Right.
No, I get it. But even then, like in just I've noticed in just the little moves from, if you were waiting on a house and then you finally got on base, and
Yeah.
that's still switching communities. What out of those different communities that you've been a part of, what's something that you've noticed about building community in each place?
What I've noticed is that, for instance, I mean, we've already talked about 29. 29 to me was easy to build a community because, like I said, we were all there together and we were in it. Here at Camp Pendleton, it's been a little bit more difficult for me, and I have to take some accountability for this too because I think that you've got to put yourself out there, and maybe I'm in a different season in my life that I haven't put myself out as much, but. Again, it goes back, everybody else is in a different season here. Like, I live on a street where people have littles. My kids are, Braden's graduating on Thursday, Maddie's in college. So I don't have that in common with these moms. I mean, if I'm in my driveway, I will definitely stop and have a conversation. But to have the revolving door here isn't anything like what I've experienced elsewhere. Even in Camp Lejeune, when we were there, my community, I lived off base. And my community was very different because, one, I had a toddler. I was 6 months pregnant. Dave was in a 9-month war deployment. And we had the Key Volunteer Network. And so he was a company commander at the time, and I was dealing with those wives in that company and, just trying to keep it together, trying to organize events for every month. But I really had one friend, and that's all I needed. That's what I wanted in my life at that time because I didn't have the mental bandwidth for more than one friend at that time. And she was truly, her name's Katie Snell. We lived in the same neighborhood, but a street apart. And our husbands were on opposite deployment cycles. So anytime that I needed fed, she knew, she filled my cup. She
Yeah.
and I think like, and I poured into her too, but I just didn't at that time with everything going on. I didn't have the ability to pour into my community like I did in 29 per se.
Yeah.
And here, like I said, could I pour in more here? I could. I
Yeah.
absolutely could. I mean, I just feel like I'm just in a different, sometimes it's okay to take time for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time you move, it's sort of a different, way of life, I guess. And also just in that move period, I know I've sometimes, especially with this last move, I think we said it's like, 6 months to kind of feel settled and feel like you know
Yeah.
people. Here, it took me longer for whatever
Yeah.
reasons. And I don't feel like I sort of came up for air until 8 months in, where I started to feel more like myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with that too. And I think that, and also for both of us, like I work. So I work full time, and I really feel like a lot of it is at the bus stop, right? Like I don't have any kids to go to, and I don't want to look like a creeper hanging out at the bus stop, you know? And so I don't have that connection. Where in 29, the bus stop was definitely where it was at. Even on our second time going back from 29, I used to always laugh and joke like I have no idea what's going on because I'm not at the bus stop. And so I don't really have that. And then plus like with work and my work schedule and stuff, I just feel, again, as I say these words in my mind, I'm like, Candy, stop making excuses because I feel like that's what it sounds like. But I just really haven't put myself out here. And like I said, I don't know if it's because it's the season I'm in. I don't know if it's because, I'm on the brink of empty nesting. And maybe I'm mourning that a little bit. And I'm trying to suffocate my kids a little bit to make
Yeah.
them
I
hang
get
out
that.
with me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, it's doable. Like I can't encourage it enough because it matters. It
Yeah.
just matters because it really mattered during the war. And we know none of us know when that's going to happen again. And I am telling you, when you have a neighbor show up at your front door because their husband was injured, it's not going to matter how well you know them. You just know that they need you and they need help. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, too many of us have experienced that.
Yeah. The sort of the constant cycle of in and out and who's where. And we don't have it, not hearing from people and the anxieties that go along with it. Yeah.
The anxiety. And I mean, that's what it was like with 1-7 was every month we had a potluck. And I mean, and people are like, oh, well, these are so expensive. It can be, but it can also be very inexpensive too to help build that those relationships. And I never looked at it as looking for Kandi Hart to make more friends. I've
Yeah.
always looked at it as like a matchmaking situation because I wanted to make sure somebody had somebody when they needed it, if they ever got a knock on their door, because it's so important.
For sure. I love the matchmaker idea. And I also love that you brought up that you did something every month. So this is a lesson that I learned is when I was in charge of planning events for our group. We had, the pot of money and I thought, well, I want to do 2 or 3 big things that are really fun that everyone's going to want to come to.
Right.
And so I'll use the money in that way because I'd heard, in that location, people were so spread apart that they wouldn't necessarily be able to come to every monthly event. And I had another spouse say to me, she said, yeah, but for the people who come, it really matters, even if there's only a few people there. And it was just sort of a mind-blowing moment and lesson that I think I learned a little bit too late because we did do really fun events and people did come. But 2 or 3 events over 6 months, it's not enough when they need to make sure that they're making friends so that they have a support system for when they need it.
Right. And you know what? It's funny that you say that because what humbled me was one time I had an event and let me preface this by saying I hate rank. Like I hate it when people talk about rank amongst people. Like, I just hate it. I've always been inclusive and I've never been that person that's like, oh, well, your spouse is so and so, so we can't be friends because that's not how this works in my life. And so, but I made this mistake one time, and I was humbled very quickly by it. At 1-7, I hosted an event, a My Favorite Things party, And at that event, every person brought 3 things, $30 and under, right? It was great. I only opened it up to E8s and above. And I did that, and it wasn't a it wasn't a command hosted event. It was a Kandi Hart event. So I don't want anybody to be like, oh, well, you can't do that. I mean, because that's not how it was. It was just a Kandi Hart party, and I ran into a young PFC's wife that I knew well in the commissary, and somebody had posted pictures about it, and she's like, "Why didn't you invite me to this party?" And I said, I'm so sorry. And I said, but I really did come from a good place, but this was an immature thought I had. I said, I never want to burden anybody to think that they have to spend money to come hang out with me, because $90 to me is very different from $90 to someone else. And I said, I never would have wanted to put anybody in a position to where they had to say no to come to this. And so that's why I chose the guest list. And she was she could have punched me in the face and I would have deserved it. She was so kind to me. And she was like, I love you, Kandi. I think you're fantastic, but you don't know what my bank account looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is me eating crow in the freaking produce section. And I'm just like, you are 100% correct. And I will never again in my life make that mistake.
It's such a good lesson.
It was such a good lesson. And she was right. Like, I don't know what you have in your bankroll. Like, who am I to leave you out of something? Because I think I'm doing a kind gesture by doing this. But in the same token, I would never want to hurt somebody's feelings. And I did. Right. And I felt awful about it. And to this day, I tell this story to any spouse that's like, oh, I'm going to have an event, but I'm only going to invite this person or these people. And I'm like, why? Why are you only doing that? And then they'll say, well, I don't want so-and-so to think they have to spend money for this. And I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you a little story.
That's a great lesson. I get it. Like, I get trying to figure out how you make a guest list.
Right.
But I guess you have to make it put the ball in their court, like you can decide.
And that's exactly right. And that's what I said going forward. I'm like, from now on, I will never make this decision for someone else. Like, if they will know if they can come or not. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And I must have profusely apologized to this wife every time I saw her. I'm like, I'm such a jerk. I'm so sorry. And she was, and I said, this was so immature of me. And I think my accountability for that spoke volumes to her.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why. And I've made, similar stupid decisions that I have regretted in that same way, learned the lesson of, being inclusive is always better for everyone, including the way that I'm going to feel in the end.
Absolutely. And that's really what it comes down to, is like, I felt so like, I mean, heck, that was 2014 and I'm still talking about it in 2026.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have the same, I've done something similar, and some decisions can make sense. I don't know. Some decisions make sense in the moment. And then later you're like, why on earth did I think it through like that? But I think inclusivity is sort of the lesson here. It's like, it's always better.
Inclusivity. Yeah. And I think that's what helps make stronger communities, right?
Yeah. That everyone knows that they're welcome.
Everyone knows that everybody has a seat at the table.
Yes. I think inclusivity is one. And you're talking about the bus stop. And I think the thing about the bus stop is that people are outside. They're in a place where they can gather, make connections. So, you said you didn't want to show up at the bus stop when you didn't have kids there. I, one time, was really trying hard to make friends on, I think it was a Lejeune. And I didn't have kids yet. And I was on a street with all kids. And there was 2 instances. One where I was like, well, I'm just going to go to the playground and say hello to people. And I remember them looking at me like, why are you here? Right. And I was like, I'm just trying to make friends here. This is where everyone hangs out. But I did have a friend, somebody who became my friend eventually. She said, oh, my kid had another point on inclusivity. She said, oh, it was my son's birthday the other day. I didn't invite you because I didn't know if you'd want to come. And I remember saying to her, I was like, well, I wish you had. I would have loved to have come. Like, it wasn't that I didn't like kids. I just didn't have them at the time.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think inclusivity, figuring out a way to be outside. I mean, the lesson I took away from that playground was maybe I'll just like throw my chair in the front yard and hang out. And I've found that if you're in the front yard, other people are eventually going to come in your front yard too. Just this is the way it works.
I absolutely agree with that wholeheartedly. If you put yourself, and that's why I said I need to take some accountability here too, just because like I just haven't went out in my front yard very often. But but you're right. If you go out there, you show your face, people are going to come. People are going to walk by. People are going to talk to you, and that's the start of it. I mean, and you're always going to have, you're always going to have people who don't participate. Like you're always going to have outliers, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's okay. But what's not okay is when you're in those community settings and you're not kind. That's where it is, because it's the lessons that we teach our kids, right? Like nice matters. And it's when you stop being kind and you start this cliquey mean girl mentality, that's what makes base living very difficult for some people, in my opinion.
Yeah. When it's like, oh, this is that group. They only do their thing. No one else is allowed. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I think that, clickiness there's no place for it on base. Now, granted, I mean, we all have our close friends or whatever people. Our people that come over and do whatever. But I'm never going to exclude somebody. If I'm sitting outside in my front yard and people walk up, I'm never going to exclude somebody from that. But we've also been of the mindset of, I don't know of any time that the Harts have had a party and not just invited the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know of a time. I mean, maybe like if it's been very small, like at the command deck level, and it was just, command specific. But anytime that we had a party, the more the merrier.
Yeah, inclusivity. It's definitely a lesson I've learned over time. The other thing I want to spend time on is season of life, because there's definitely, like I said, it took me a lot longer, I feel like, here. Maybe that's because I have 3 little kids. There's a lot going on. I would get in my head and think, oh, I haven't had people over, outside of like a family here and there. I haven't done anything. I haven't had a karaoke party, Kandi. And I feel like that is, a smudge on my reputation.
Mine too. We should make a point, Stacy, that we go out someday this weekend. We just start belting it out on our back patios and see what people do.
To FaceTime each other so that you can do the other part of shallow.
Right.
And then we can show everybody what we've got.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I get in my head about it. I'm like, why haven't I done this? And then I'm like, wait a second. Like I just only, figured out how to get places without a map, without my phone map. So I do think there is something to be said about the season, but also then I would add to that, it's a call, for when now that I'm on the other side of that post-move, whatever, that when someone else has just moved in, to remember it, right? And to remember when people are in a season where they maybe don't have the bandwidth to plan that karaoke party.
Right.
Because they've got a lot going on.
They do. And you know what? One thing that I've noticed that we've gotten away from is, and I don't know about you, but I remember whenever like moving in on the street or, you had a new neighbor, you were walking over to their front door, you're knocking on the door, you're handing them a meal or something to try to help to make their life easier. You're introducing yourself. Your kids immediately snag their kids, go to the park, and they go play. And maybe that happens now, and I'm just not seeing it as much because I don't have the littles. But I don't. It's definitely not, in my opinion, like it used to be. At least from my viewpoint, and from what I'm experiencing. Like I remember moving into Bailey Street. I kid you, the first time I'm into your house.
Yeah, so because I lived in your house later on.
You sure did. You had the nicer version after they remodeled it.
I had a very good house there.
I remember we had not even looked at the entire inside of the house. And I kid you not, I had 3 neighbors walking through my front door to introduce themselves. Like I was still trying to figure out where my bedroom was. And they
Yeah.
just all came into that house and they were like, hey, I'm so and so. They're introducing themselves. Like, what can we do for you? And I love that. Like that is such a welcoming sense that I don't I don't know if this generation does it as much as we used to,
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
don't know. I can remember a neighbor brought me like I don't think they made it. I think they went and bought it from a grocery store. It's like a banana bread or something.
Yeah.
And just put a little card on top with her
Yep.
number and said, if you need anything, here's my
Yes.
number. Such a great thing because I'm definitely going to need things. I need to
Right.
know everything about the place. I need to, like you said, the pediatricians, the dentists, the
Yep.
where to get your hair. I don't know anything yet.
Yeah.
Now we have Facebook, which can be
Which is
helpful, but
such a
also it's
catch
just
22. It's such a catch. I
yeah.
think I just feel like I mean, Facebook is great. Like, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I don't use it all the time like everybody else, but I feel like you've lost that personal connection because it's just too easy to go to Facebook.
Yeah. And it's also not like if I'm just like, hey, I want to go and eat, I want sushi tonight. Like I can text my new neighbor. I can start to establish that connection
Yeah.
and just say, where do I go? It's a lot, it's easier, than having to post or search or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, just welcoming a new neighbor, and it doesn't have to be something you even made.
It doesn't
Just
have to be
something that
something you made. It does not have to be something that you made at all. I mean, just you don't have to take them anything. Just walk over and here's my phone
Write
number.
your number down. Yeah.
Yeah. On a post-it and say, if you need something, please know that, I'm here. I think it just speaks volumes for those first steps because that's hard. It is
Yeah.
being the new person, and especially, those of us that move off season. An off-season move is hard too, especially whenever those friendships are established already. So
Yeah, and that's very similar to moving into a community that isn't military as well. They've got their routines, they've got their friends. They don't necessarily feel like they need anyone else.
oh my gosh. So speaking of moving into an off military community. So Dave was the MOI at Notre Dame, the Marine I think it's either option or officer. I'm sure he'll correct me when he hears this, instructor. And so I think it's Marine option. I don't know. Anyways, and so we move in. I'm from Indiana, but I'm not from this area. And so at that particular time, this is like one of the 35 times Dave's like, I'm going to retire after this gig. I'm going to retire. So we build this house in this neighborhood. Did we research the way that we should have? Absolutely not. So we end up building a house in a 55 and older. Well, it couldn't have been 55 because Dave wasn't that old yet. But it was a community of older individuals. And beautiful home. There were only 6 houses. I had littles. Like Maddie was in kindergarten, Brayden was just turning 2, and I'm like, there's nobody here for my kids to play with. That translates to I got to play with them all the time. And so now I have to go out and I have to figure this life out. And granted, I had family that lived an hour and a half away, so that helped a little bit. But going into it, I finally, as crazy as what this is, I went to Craigslist and I found a play group. And I went to Craigslist. I found a play group. I was very much so outside of my comfort zone because these are people that grew up in this community that like went to college together, went to the high school together. Like their families are deep rooted in this community. And I came in with 2 kids, deer in headlights, like, please accept me. Like, I'm used to like this, but like, please, I swear to you, I can be really fun. And so I made a couple of friends that I actually still keep in touch with to this day from that time. And then once Maddie started kindergarten, I started to volunteer. And that's where I found like my people in that particular community. Or, we were like, I was in my 30s at the time, and it was like we were college kids back on Notre Dame, but had a little bit of money. And so then we started doing events there. But instead of being friends with college kids, we're now starting to be friends with their parents.
Right.
And stuff like that. So it's just, it took a long time though for it to happen. I mean, I would say it probably took me a year into that tour to finally feel like, okay, I can do this. Like, this is manageable. Like, I have an emergency, because that's another thing. You walk into a military installation. Hey, Stacy, I don't know you, but can I have your phone number to be my kid's emergency contact?
Oh, yeah. I got one of those texts the other day.
I can't let somebody in South Bend, Indiana be an emergency contact for when they haven't been vetted. Like, I mean, so it was the little things that you forget about how important it is.
Yeah.
But I met amazing people, like I said, that I still keep in touch with from those days.
Yeah.
You know, it really does go back, and it is so cliche to bloom where you're planted, because it matters. It matters.
I'm thinking about another time that we were not on base and not in a military community either. And we ended up becoming good friends with some people we had just met through our childcare, through our daycare. And, then I became friends with their friends. And suddenly I had this community of people that had nothing to do with the military. And we had such a great time. I guess the point is, like, you can meet people in all different ways. It's a little harder, I think, when you don't have little kids, because you don't have the automatic childcare or play groups or whatever. What would be your advice then?
I mean, I would probably get into, like, find a hobby. Maybe now is the new time for you to have a hobby. Maybe, I don't know, like golf. Maybe there's a league out there of something that you want to do. I know that I was looking, I'm going to go back home for a little bit, and like somebody has like a cooking class or something. And this is where it would be really hard if, for that introverted person, is like, sometimes you have to put yourself out there. I mean, and I'm sure, and I know that that's tough for a lot of people to do, but I have a good friend that lives here, and her name's Laura, and when she hears this, she's gonna be like, "Damn you, Kandi, for bringing my name up." But she's fantastic. She is crazy introverted though, like crazy introverted. She loves to read, and I was with her a couple weeks ago, and what she found herself a book club up in like Orange County somewhere. And she went. And I mean, you would have thought that I was like cheering on like one of my kids, because I was like, that is so incredible. Like, are you drinking? Did you really sign up for this? But she did, and she had a great time. And so I think once you get past like that, sometimes some people just need a nudge, because I tell her every week, you gotta get out of your house, like stop reading, get out of your house, go do something. But it's awesome for her, and I think that you just have to do that sometimes. As Dave always says to every one of us in this house, you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, that's a good one.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I have to consciously tell myself, like, it's okay if you go somewhere by yourself and you do something new, even if it's scary, because you only do it for the first time once.
Right.
I also think of other people or sort of the personality that I want to be. And I've thought of you in these situations because I feel like you don't have a shy bone in your body. And so on the days that I'm feeling not as extroverted, then you will be one of those people I will think about. And just trying to, I guess, like acting the way you want to be, if that makes any sense. And trying to put aside those anxieties.
No, absolutely. And I think this comes with maturity and age and stuff. I think I'm pretty authentic. Like, what you see is what you get. This is my authentic self. Sometimes I probably don't have the best filter. But I mean,
I love it.
But I'm also, I'm very compassionate. And I like to think that I practice what I preach with my kids, and I'm kind. And I'm not going to, if I ever see somebody, a couple of people and I were talking about this last week about secondhand embarrassment. I don't experience secondhand embarrassment, and I don't know why. And so I'm like, I don't ever really feel like that for people. And I go, maybe it's because I'm like, if that's how you are, like, be how you are. Why should you be embarrassed? Why should I be embarrassed for you? Now, if you're out like trashed, showing yourself, I'm also not embarrassed for you. I'm going to be the person that's going to be like, girl, let's put it together. I mean, like, like it's time to go. We should probably pack it in. But I just, I don't know. I think authenticity is so rare at certain seasons of your life. And I think that if people could find it sooner, I think they would find that they would feel much more comfortable with themselves.
Yeah, just being who you are and not worrying about what everybody's thinking.
Don't change yourself for anybody. Be you. And here's the thing. If somebody doesn't like you, okay.
Yeah.
Like, move on.
I do think I'm still learning that. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to something you said early on in the conversation. You said if someone's a wallflower, that's who you're going to be talking to. So my last question for you is, what are the ways that you try to help make people feel like they belong?
I will immediately walk up to somebody and I will ask them about themselves. I'll say, tell me about your family. I will say, where are you from? I will ask them why they're here. Like, what brought you here tonight? And most of the time, it's a military event or whatever. I'll ask how long their spouse has been in. I will make them feel comfortable enough to open up, to give me a little glimpse of to who they are. And then from that point, I'm going to say, come with me. And we're going to go hang out with some people. There's a girl up in Twentynine Palms that she was very much that wallflower. And she was very much, she loved to cook. And she was nervous about Gourmet Club. And she didn't want to sign up for it because she was nervous about it. And I was like, tell me what dates you can do it, and I will make my schedule work that I do it with you.
Oh, because that's a great idea.
Because I'm all about I never want somebody to feel uncomfortable with themselves, and I never want somebody to feel uncomfortable in an environment. Like, you belong there. We're all in this together, and this is where you were supposed to be.
For sure. Well, this has been an excellent conversation. I feel like we've done a lot of talking about community. Thank you, Kandi, for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for asking me to do this.
Special thanks to my friend Kandi Hart for being on the show to talk about building community wherever you are. If you loved this episode or you loved this whole show, please be sure to rate and review it in your podcast app. It helps a lot, I promise. This is the very last episode for season 2. Thanks for following along. Please make sure you go and follow the show in your podcast app so you do not miss it when season 3 launches in September. I'm Stacy Rain. Thanks for listening.